it hasn't received coverage because the media doesn't want to cover anything, aside from you and a few other people, don't want to cover anything that says that masks might not be, God's gift to all of us. But I will say this, it's one study, it's what's called a case-controlled study. So what happened is they looked at the 160 people who had gotten the virus and they compared them to essentially a control group of 160 people who hadn't gotten the virus.
Yes.
And essentially the mask wearing was exactly the same in both arms. So that suggests that masks provided no benefit, at least in this study. And if, for example, you look at the people who were close to people with a known case of the coronavirus, many more of those people in the arm of people who got the virus were close to somebody who had the virus. It was like 42% versus 14%. So that's what you would expect, right? If you're close to somebody who has the virus, you're more likely to get the virus. In this case, masks seem to provide no benefit, no difference between the two arms. That's just one study, but it is telling. Here's what I'll say. There's a very big study, a randomized controlled trial out of Denmark that was finished in June that was supposed to demonstrate whether or not masks worked for protecting the wearer from infection. So several thousand people were going to wear masks, several thousand people not wear masks. You compare at the end who was infected, who wasn't. That study was finished in June. It was supposed to be published in August. It has disappeared. There has been no publication of the results. I don't know what the study says, but I think it's reasonable to speculate that if the study showed that masks worked, every scientific journal in the world would want to print it. And this is part of a much bigger problem, Tucker. The problem is that science and scientists who are outside what the public health authorities and the media want are being almost systematically shut down. And this came up in the discussion about herd immunity, where a very good scientist in the UK couldn't get a paper published suggesting that herd immunity, she couldn't get it published in a journal suggesting that, we might reach herd immunity at much lower rates of infection than the 50 to 70% that people have speculated. This, and you're seeing this with the Great Barrington Declaration too, which I know you've talked about, we know about, that the scientists who published that, who are very, very well known, who are at Stanford and Oxford and Harvard, who have sterling credentials, are being tarred and feathered by other scientists. I don't understand what has happened to scientific debate, not just in this country, but around the world, where if you have an opinion, a well-backed, a well-researched opinion that's outside the consensus,
they've been to Epstein and they got something
published
on
in a major journal.
Well, that's just witchcraft, isn't it? I mean, at that point, that's not
witchcraft.
Science, right?
That's right, black magic.
Science should be a discussion, and it should be.
Yes.
And you see this in yet another way, Tucker, which is that people who publish studies, who actually the authors of studies showing that masks are ineffective, or who've written articles saying, there was this article in the New England Journal of Medicine at the beginning of April, and it essentially said universal masking is ineffective. Probably it is essentially a sop to the public's fears. The people who wrote that article walked back that conclusion, which was extremely clear 2 months later. So what kind of pressure was put on them, or what kind of pressure are they putting on themselves? Science is not going to work if scientists are censoring themselves or censoring other scientists. And that seems to be where we're going right now.
It's frightening. You're one of the very few standing in the face of that. And good luck. Alex Berenson, good to see you tonight.
Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Great show, Tucker. Great show. Great show. Ramblin' Randy here.